Good afternoon, and welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program.
This program is brought to you by the Southwest TV Translator Association and supported by the Dolores County Broadcasting Network on DCTV.
The News at Noon program is the best assembly of news and local weather for the Four Corners region. Give us your feedback and news alerts at 677-4119.
With all that said, I'm Kendra Cook, and my co-host is Kelsey Kiesling and Jerry Tope with the weather. And now for April 5th, 2016, here's the news. Reported in the Denver Post, Ted Cruz is emerging as the Republican favorite to win Colorado after he captured the state's first 6 national delegates and leads his rivals into this week's party convention with the most pledged support. Donald Trump is a distant second, according to early results, and his supporters are outnumbered among the GOP activists vying for national delegate seats at the Cleveland convention. John Kasich, meanwhile, is scrambling to make a mark. The candidates are shifting their attention to Colorado this week, where an intense behind-the-scenes campaign is underway for the state's 37 delegates. Cruz will speak at the party convention, and Trump is expected to attend. Colorado played no role in the early months of the presidential contest after state Republican leaders canceled the presidential straw poll to allow its delegates to remain unbound. But Trump's struggle to secure the 1,237 delegates needed for the party's nomination puts the state in a new light. The state Republican Party awards 3 delegates in each of the 7 congressional districts and another 13 at the convention this Saturday in Colorado Springs. The 3 remaining delegates are unbound party leaders. Ahead of the state convention, it appears Cruz has the edge among the party activists competing for one of the national delegate slots. About 40% of potential delegates are pledged to Cruz, according to an analysis of the delegate pool provided by the state Republican Party on Monday, compared to just less than 10% for Trump and 2% for Kasich. Nearly half are unpledged, though most will declare a favored candidate in the end. A total of 19 Colorado delegates are needed to claim victory in Colorado. The Cruz campaign won the first 6 national delegates awarded at 2 congressional district conventions last Saturday and claimed all but 2 alternates who ran unpledged to a candidate. The system gives far more influence to party insiders and conservative interest groups such as the Gun Owners of America and Faith and Freedom Coalition that helped to push Cruz to the top. Becky Measle, a prominent Trump backer and former Pueblo County GOP chairwoman, said the billionaire businessman's support is underestimated in the number of convention delegates. She said a lot of the Trump supporters are independent voters or Republicans who have not really been a part of the process, so they won't necessarily be the people who are at the state assembly. The state convention and assembly will take place this Saturday, April 9th, 2016, at the World Arena in Colorado Springs.
According to the Durango Herald, the vole damage was discovered after the snow melted this winter at the stadium they're planning on building in Durango, said Kathy Metz, director of Durango Parks and Recreation. The city has started an intense regimen of irrigation and aeration to jumpstart growth of the turf in hopes that it will be ready by early May, when hundreds of children are expected to come to town for an annual soccer shootout, she said. It is the latest chapter in a series of setbacks at the Smith Sports Complex at Fort Lewis College, which has yet to see any games. The 15-acre field, which was scheduled to open in 2012, was built to provide space for soccer, lacrosse, and football games. It accommodates 4 soccer fields. Problems started soon after the field was dedicated in 2012 when the grass failed to grow properly. While dealing with that, the city discovered rocks near the surface of the playing fields. After trying aeration and manual rock removal, the city removed the grass and scraped 6 inches of topsoil to screen out the rocks and add sand to improve soil health. The field was resodded in September. The renovations added $900,000 to the total expense of the fields, bringing the cost to $5.3 million. But the new sod apparently made a good winter meal for voles, which eat through grass, leaving veins of dead sections. It is common throughout the city's park system, but the damage can result in uneven playing surfaces at sports complexes, which can affect play and possibly cause injury. Durango Youth Soccer Association, which donated $40,000 to the complex, planned to use the new fields May 6th through 8th, when 140 soccer teams are scheduled to descend on Durango for a soccer shootout, which offers round-robin style of play. The shootout brings in an estimated $1 million while here, said Kathy Wilson, who oversees administration who oversees administration and operates the club. Games will have to be spread out on fields throughout the city, she said.
According to the Durango Herald, after several years of urging from San Juan National Forest officials, Purgatory Resort is considering undertaking a vegetation management plan that would include removing hazardous trees from the ski area. The project is tentatively slated to begin this summer and entails removal of dead hazardous tree stands that pose a risk to lift lines or were destroyed by invasive insects, particularly on the higher slopes. Columbine District Ranger Matt Janowiak said because the hazardous trees are scattered throughout the ski resort's 2,400-acre leased permit area, he said he could not describe the project's scope or acreage. But most affected spruce are near lifts 3, 5, and 8. Similar to areas such as Wolf Creek Pass, Forest Service officials have noted an increasing problem not just with spruce beetles, but also spruce budworms, which have intruded gradually on the ski area. Budworms feed on the new buds of spruce trees, preventing the growth of new needles necessary for photosynthesis. Their damage is difficult to anticipate. The species works through trees at random, and some years are worse than others. The move to strengthen forest resiliency is a first for Purgatory. The resort does not have a vegetation management plan, although a comprehensive analysis was completed as part of the resort's environmental impact statement and record of decision, which was approved in 2009. The EIS was completed on behalf of the resort's proposals for snowmaking and adding new lifts and infrastructure. As part of the Forest Service's record of decision, the federal agency determined Purgatory should have a vegetation management plan which sets criteria for hazardous tree removal and protecting forest health, resort infrastructure, and the public. The resort would incur the project's cost, though Forest Service officials pledged to provide labor and expertise and help the resort sell damaged wood to recoup some of the expense. Purgatory's plans come at a time when neighboring forest areas are being similarly ravaged by insects. About 50 acres of a 100-acre infested area near Wolf Creek Pass will be logged for dead trees. Gretchen Fitzgerald, a restoration specialist for the San Juan National Forest, said protecting spruce firs is a complicated matter because each insect species or fungi affecting the trees requires a different management strategy.
According to the Denver Post, Coloradans who can afford a car with a remote ignition switch have a legal right to a warm seat on cold mornings after Governor John Hickenlooper signed House Bill 1122 to make an exception from the state's puffer vehicle law. The Democratic governor signed the Republican-sponsored bill Thursday. The exception won't help motorists this chilly spring, however. The law takes effect 90 days after the end of the legislation session on May 11th, which is August 10th. The measure was strongly supported, passing the House 59-4 on February 18th and in the Senate 34-0 on March 14th. The bill's sponsor, Representative Justin Everett from Littleton, characterized his bill as a public safety issue and an unnecessary hurdle since unattended cars can remain locked to deter thieves. Those who do not have remote ignition switches, however, still must abide by the state's unattended vehicle law. A violation is a Class B traffic misdemeanor for the person responsible for a car or truck to permit it to stand unattended without first stopping the engine, locking the ignition, removing the key from the ignition, and effectively setting the brake thereon. A violation carries a minimum fine of $15 and a maximum fine of $100. Each winter, local police departments run campaigns to make residents aware of the law and the risks for car thefts. Those who steal puffers also have a set of keys to the vehicle owner's home and business.
The Durango Herald reported from Denver that 2 Democrats joined Republicans on Monday to defeat legislation in the Democratic-controlled House that would have expanded local control over oil and gas development. House Bill 1355, in its original form, would have clarified a local government's authority to decide where hydraulic fracturing sites are located. Currently, the state has most of the authority in determining when and where drilling permits are issued. In an effort to appease critics, the bill was amended to allow local governments regulation only over noise, lighting, and traffic issues. It was pointed out, however, that local governments already have that authority. Much of the debate came down to property value. In addition to growing concerns over health risks possibly associated with fracking, residents have expressed concerns over diminished property values as a result of industrial activity in their neighborhoods. The outcry has grown as fracking made its way from rural Colorado into more populated areas. The process employs pressurized water water mixed with sand and chemicals to break open underground natural gas and oil deposits. Governor John Hickenlooper, a Democrat, acknowledged the frustration and convened a task force that met last year to propose rules around local governance. The task force was viewed as a compromise, proposed in an effort to avoid ballot questions aimed at giving local governments the authority to ban hydraulic fracturing. Anti-fracking groups remain committed to running ballot measures in Colorado, possibly this November, that would offer local governments more control. Meanwhile, the Colorado Supreme Court is weighing whether local governments have the power to enact stricter rules and regulations than those of the state. Industry leaders applauded defeat of the legislation, suggesting that it is a sign that current rules and regulations are working.
As reported by Brandon Mathis, wherever there are mountains and snow, there are avalanches. They don't care about the people, hikers, climbers, skiers, snowboarders, and snowmobiles. But Manuel Genswein does. Armed with a Swiss accent and a distinctive voice, Genswein speaks with absolute authority on avalanches and people. Genswein, trained an electronic engineer with a focus on geography, developed a practice that makes a difference when someone's life is on the line. In fact, he's been teaching his methods in 27 countries for the last 23 years. Now he aims to make his methods the worldwide standard. While modern methods of gathering and communicating information about avalanches has greatly improved in the last 2 decades, he said, it isn't always new developments that make a difference, but techniques that make rescue more efficient. He called avalanche rescue a domain where one must learn from a collective experience. Jim Donovan is a renowned authority of the subject and says if you plan to recreate in mountainous terrain, avalanche education is critical. As director of Colorado's Silverton Avalanche School in one of the most avalanche-prone mountain environments in the nation, Donovan teaches a full gamut of students, from recreational skiers and snowmobiles to elite professionals and military personnel. He called Genswein one of the world's best. He has really set the bar, Donovan said, created the bar and the standard for avalanche rescue worldwide. For us to have him is just a tremendous resource. And now, here's our weather report.
The quick-moving system we spoke of yesterday will increase wind speeds for this afternoon to 25 miles per hour or so, and gust speeds around 40 to 50 miles per hour are likely. There are wind advisories for the Grand Valley and Paradox Valleys today. Montrose and Durango are borderline at this point, and there is a red flag warning for fire hazard today for the area in general, and particularly those near or below 6,500 foot elevation. 1 to 4 p.m. will be the worst of the wind speeds today. These winds will be from the northwest through the day and change to the southwest for this evening. Moisture expectations for us in Dove Creek today were very low yesterday and 0 now for this afternoon. However, this evening, as the front will have passed through, things will improve quickly, at least as far as wind speeds go. The moisture expected for this weekend has also declined to almost nothing for Friday and very little more for Saturday. The moisture that was predicted for the northern parts of the state fizzled out yesterday, and what little is left to pass over a tiny northernmost portion of the state is expected to have high winds as well and a little precipitation, but as the afternoon warms, some lightning is possible in that area. The low pressure system over Montana will strengthen as it moves eastward along the Canadian border. The cold front just east of that one will continue to drop southeastward, keeping daytime highs down by 10 to 15 degrees from yesterday's levels. This cold front that has been building in behind the low, pulling away from the northeast into the Atlantic Ocean, now covers about a third of the nation, and as a result, the eastern U.S. will remain dry and cool and cold today. The low pressure system will move from the Rockies into the central and northern plains today. The system will move rain and snow to the northern plains and upper Midwest today, with rain and thunderstorms farther south across the central and southern plains. Additionally, a strong pressure gradient associated with the surface low will bring high winds from portions of the northern Rockies and the northern plains today and tonight. Wind gusts there in excess of 60 miles per hour are possible in the plains. The low pressure system will move into the upper Midwest tonight and early Wednesday morning, spreading snow across the northern Great Lakes. On Wednesday, rain and thunderstorms will spread from Ohio and Tennessee valleys into the southeast. Rain will develop for much of the East Coast Wednesday night, with snow possible for northern Maine. Scattered rain and snow showers will persist across the Great Lakes and upper Midwest into Thursday, as another low-pressure system follows quickly in the wake of the first. Sunny and partly sunny should be the order for the 5 days. Less moisture than was hoped for likely this weekend. Windy as expected this afternoon, calming this evening to more normal 5 to 10 miles per hour for the rest of the week. High is in the 60s with the low tonight in the upper 20s, followed by upper 30s for the rest of the week. And now back to Kelsey for more news.
As reported in the Cortez Journal, at the Ute Mountain Ute Learning Center, a dozen Native Americans crowd around tables full of half-built remote-controlled drones during a spring break technology workshop Thursday. Instructor Jay Knight is showing students how to build and program the drones as part of an expanded training program to inspire Native American youths to consider high-tech careers. It is the first of many technology classes, workshops, and internships funded by a $2.5 million SEEDS grant awarded to the tribe from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The workshop was put on by the Powerhouse Science Center based in Durango. Some of the applications for drones are aerial photography, land surveying, product delivery, and even search and rescue missions, said Knight. Learning about drones was a first for the students ranging in age from 10 to 17. Sarah Begay, college transition coordinator for the Learning Center, says part of the plan is to place students in internships within different tribal science and engineering departments. We're fostering an interest, then we get them into workplace skills and computer classes to try and transition them into good-paying careers, Begay said.
Reported from the Durango Herald, Montrose is a town with a frontier flavor set amid the rocky mesas of western Colorado. Keith Carey is a gunsmith, a staunch though soft-spoken defender of the right to bear arms. He's also a willing recruit in a fledgling effort to see if the gun community itself, sellers and owners of firearms and operators of shooting ranges, can help Colorado and a swath of other western states reduce their highest in the nation suicide rates. Carey said suicide is a tragedy no matter how it's done. His adult daughter killed herself with a mix of alcohol and antidepressants a few years ago on the East Coast. However, he sees the logic in trying gun-specific prevention strategies in towns like Montrose, where guns are an integral part of daily life. At the urging of a local police commander, Carey agreed last year to participate in the Gun Shop Project, a state-funded pilot program in which gun sellers and range operators in 5 western Colorado counties were invited to raise awareness about suicide. It's a tentative but promising bid to open a conversation on a topic that's been virtually taboo in these western states, the intersection of guns and suicide. Carey's shop displays wallet-sized cards with information about a suicide hotline, and a poster by the door offers advice about ways to keep guns out of the hands of friends or relatives at risk of killing themselves. It says, consider offering to hold on to their guns or to help store their guns temporarily. You may save a life. Across the U.S., suicides account for nearly 2/3 of all gun deaths, far outnumbering gun homicides and accidental deaths. In 2014, according to federal data, there were over 33,000 firearm deaths and just over 21,000 of them were suicides. That figure represents about half of all suicides that year, but in several western Colorado counties and in some other Rocky Mountain states with high gun ownership rates, more than 60% of suicides involve firearms. Between 2000 and 2014, gun suicides increased by more than 51% in several western states, while rising by less than 30% nationwide. Theories abound as to why residents of this western region kill themselves at such high rates. Commonly cited factors include the isolation and economic hard times that are prevalent in rural areas of these states. A University of Utah psychiatrist, Perry Renshaw, contends that the lower oxygen levels of higher altitudes contribute to elevated suicide rates. There's also widespread belief that a self-reliant frontier mindset, admirable in many circumstances, deters some Westerners from seeking help when depression sinks in. Underlying all these explanations is the fact that firearms, the most effective of all the common means of suicide, are more ubiquitous in the West than in most other parts of the country. Catherine Barber, a suicide prevention expert at the Harvard School of Public Health, says numerous studies show that residents of gun-owning homes are at substantially higher risk of suicide than other people, simply because a suicide attempt is more likely to involve a gun and thus prove fatal. According to federal estimates, suicide attempts involving firearms succeed 85% of the time, compared to less than 10% of attempts involving drug overdoses and several other methods that often allow a suicidal person to reverse course. Barber says it's not that gun owners are more suicidal, it's that they're more likely to die in the event that they become suicidal because they are using a gun. Colorado's Gun Shop Project is modeled largely after a program pioneered in New Hampshire a few years ago. The Colorado Project is being expanded this year from 5 counties to 9, including San Miguel County.
According to the Durango Herald, not only did the Durango Choral Society wow audiences with its performance of Requiem for Eagles, it led to a national award. The performance, which blends the traditional Requiem format with Southwestern influence of indigenous chants, rhythm, and orchestration, impressed judges at the Chorus American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers so much they gave it the Alice Parker Award. This award will annually recognize a member chorus for programming recently composed music that expands the mission of the chorus and challenges the chorus audience in new ways, Chorus America said in the announcement. Requiem for Eagles was composed by the Telluride Choral Society's late artistic director David Lingley. The two choral societies took on a 2-year collaboration to present the premiere of the work. While Lingley had completed the choral portion with piano accompaniment, he left only sketches of proposed orchestration, DCS music director Linda McBurvin said. Dalen Stevens, a Telluride resident and graduate of Fort Lewis College, completed the orchestration. The piece debuted in October at St. Columbia Catholic Church, where there was room for only woodwinds, the organ, and horns. The Telluride performance used the full orchestra, adding strings and timpani. Alice Parker, the namesake of the award, was a composer whose career focused on creating work for the human voice for more than 6 decades. The award comes with a $1,000 prize for the DCS. Burvin, Spader, and Jean Bandy, president of the Durango Choral Society Board of Directors, will travel to Cincinnati in June to receive the reward. It's the second time Chorus America has recognized the DCS. In 2007, the group was given an honorable mention for La Coro Sutro for choir and America Gamelin, performed with John Pennington.
Colorado Public Library reported, in 2014, voters in the small western slope town of DeBeck approved the first and only recreational marijuana enterprises in Mesa County. Now the town, which struggles financially and has long been known primarily for nearby wild horse herds, is reaping the rewards. Last year, taxes on marijuana sales brought in more money than the town sees in overall sales tax and energy impact fees combined. The town is now deciding how to spend the marijuana windfall on a long wish list of community improvements. Officials there are looking at a scholarship fund for high school seniors, a town beautification project, and a whole host of infrastructure projects. Lance Stewart is the administrator for the town of DeBeck and is helping to shape pot tax town improvements. He spoke with CPR's Colorado Matters host Ryan Warner and said, "It has been quite a contentious situation for the community, at least up into the time of the vote. I have seen a softening in that situation since that point in time, especially because we have 2 of our businesses up and running that have dispelled a lot of the rumors that came along during the course of the election." He said, "We have honestly not seen any uptick in crime here due to the sale of marijuana. We have not seen, as folks said we would, deadbeats hanging around on the corners or in the community parks smoking pot. Nothing of that nature has occurred. Most of the people we have have seen or that I have witnessed personally are upstanding individuals. They walk into the establishments, they make their purchases, and down the road they go. He continued, it'll be a lifeblood for the community that they can, for once in their history, be able to start infrastructure replacement programs for their streets, curbs, and gutters. Water lines, sewer lines, settling ponds at the sewer plant need all to be relined, and all of these things are million and multi-million dollar projects. The catalyst for it all has been the pod industry. With regard on how the future looks for now, he said, I honestly believe the sustainability of the entire industry in our area, as well as our revenue stream, is going to be from the grow facilities, because we do have a lot of room to accommodate both warehousing and growing facilities here in the community that can then be shipped and the product can go out of here.
And now the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of March 29th through April 3rd. A deputy arrested Joshua Mason for theft, aggravated robbery, and reckless endangerment after an investigation following a late-night report of burglary and assault at a resident's home. A resident reported a non-injury two-vehicle accident on Highway 491. The Utah State Patrol were contacted to respond to the scene. A mandatory reporting agency reported verbal threats against others by a resident. A deputy is investigating. A single vehicle non-injury accident on Highway 145 was reported by a passing motorist. Colorado State Patrol responded to the scene to assist. 2 separate reports of found dogs loose in town were made, and both reporting parties were able to reunite their pets to the owners. A black fluffy dog was found in the county. Please contact the sheriff's office if you are missing a pet matching that description. A report of harassment by a suspicious suspect was made by a town business. The case is under investigation. That's it for today's Roundup. Stay tuned this week for more updates.
In today's High Country happenings, July 4th may seem far away, but actually only 87 days till the beer tent opens at the Dove Creek Pick and Hoe celebration. This year's Grand Marshal couple has been voted in, and it is Denise and Harley Gardner, owners of Adobe Milling. Also just announced, the 2016 royalty lineup includes Trista, Leah, and Erilyn Barnett, Michaela Hankins, Liliana Harrison, Tot Myers, and Alex Murphy. Proceeds being raised by these contestants helps to fund the event. For the full itinerary, go online to www.pickandhoe.com. Thursday, April 7th from 3 to 7 p.m. and Friday, April 8th from 8 to 2, there will be a book fair held at the Early Learning Center in the Blue Room at the Mancus Elementary School. All books are buy one, get one free, and proceeds and donated books go to the Early Learning Center. In Mancus, they are also starting to plan for their farmers market from June to September, held on Thursdays from 4 to 7 p.m. They're looking for vendors, table spaces are available, and they're also looking for musicians to play to add to the event. Call Carrie at 970-759-2540 or email mancushomes@gmail.com. And in thinking about fresh fruits and veggies, the annual meeting for the Cortez Farmers Market will be held Saturday, April 16th, 2016, at the Empire Electric's meeting room. At 9 a.m., visit their online site at www.cortezfarmmarket.com for further details. Today's end note is from the FourSeasonsGreenhouse.com, a gardening tip. Check on established vines as well as ones you planted this year. Most are surging into growth. If you don't intervene sooner rather than later to direct the stems where you want them to go, the whole display can get out of control pretty quickly. Train and tie elongating branches onto their support with strips of soft cloth. Certainly a good idea ahead of some of these ferocious winds we are expecting. So we'd love to share information about what's happening to support all of the regional groups, individuals, and communities. Please let us know your event by sending an email to dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station at 970-677-4119. And we're adding all of the High Country happenings to our Facebook page.
Again, thanks for tuning in. This program is aired live at noon and rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m. on Channel 32.1 Dolores County, on Channel 30.4 in Montezuma County, and their cable Channel 5.
And you can also rewatch the broadcast on the DCTV News at Noon channel on YouTube. And please like us on the DCTV News at Noon Facebook page and follow us on Twitter.
For Kendra Cook, Jerry Tope, and all those who are working to bring you DCTV and the News at Noon program from Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. See you next time.